heading into 2024 when it comes to content and podcasting. People are like, why podcasting in 2024? You're creating a relationship and you're building trust with prospects or clients. You're still building this relationship with someone
100%.
in a time and a location that you never would have thought possible beforehand.
Yeah. If you're still on the fence wondering, should I start one?
Yeah.
Have I got what it takes? Like, what will it do for me? I shared this with you earlier, what my mentor Myron says about the amount of hours that we have in a day. He'll often ask.
Welcome to Beyond the Mic. My name is Jethro Staggs, and this podcast is all about podcasting, content creation, and everything in between. I'm joined again by my co-host, Ryan Bowles. How's it going today, sir?
Doing fantastic. Great to see you.
That is fantastic. It's great to see you too. We're back recording. It's January.
In a brand new year.
2024. It's a leap year this year.
It is. I don't know how that will affect our podcast, but
who knows? Maybe we'll launch an episode on the 29th of February.
Special leap year edition.
Leap year edition for a podcast episode.
Might be the first to do it ever, actually.
Oh, yeah. We should actually look and see if anyone has done the 29th of February.
Yeah, I doubt there is one.
Yeah, maybe we'll let us know in the comments if you want us to do a special leap year episode and what is going to be on that episode. Who knows? We could do a totally random topic.
Totally.
But we probably won't. We'll probably still stick to podcasting and content creation because that's what this podcast is all about. It's helping business owners, professionals, whether you have a podcast or don't have a podcast, giving you as many tips and tricks as possible to help you get started or help you grow your podcast.
So I want to know, how was your New Year's? Because, we're here talking about podcasts, but did you listen to anything? Did you celebrate over the New Year?
Yeah, New Year's was great. I was with some pretty cool people on New Year's.
Hey, so was I.
Oh, were you? I wonder who you were with.
Yeah.
New Year's was great. It was raining a lot in Brisbane and the Gold Coast over the Christmas period. And it was meant to be absolutely bucketing down on New Year's. But we managed to find the perfect spot on the beach. If you haven't guessed already, Ryan and I were spending New Year's with each other. And
very romantic.
Yeah, it was very romantic. Don't worry, it wasn't just the two of us. But yeah, the sun came out when we went swimming. There was blue sky.
There was beach cricket.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, got the Weber out. Couple of cold sodas.
Yeah, a few maybe a bit raw chicken skewers that I cooked up, but that's okay. It was in the dark, but it's all right. I'm better with my steak game. But yeah, New Year's was great. Had a fantastic time. I discovered Keegan and Company podcast over the time, so I was listening to that. If you haven't checked out Keegan and Company, I really encourage you to check it out. Really good podcast around sport, but most importantly, mental health.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of raw and honest conversations that you probably wouldn't have heard before. So I listened to one with Alex Glenn, I believe it is, a previous Brisbane Broncos captain. And I just loved the episode. I actually had goosebumps.
It's a great
podcast.
Yeah. Super raw, vulnerable, real, everything that you want. Yeah. Especially around mental health.
Yeah, for sure. And just to see peek behind the curtains into people's lives, even on that episode talking about how he got picked for the Brisbane Broncos. Right. It was just so cool.
Yeah, things getting you never call. Know.
Yeah, it was just really cool. And that's why I love podcasts. So yeah, massive applause to Keegan and Company podcast. What about you? Were you listening to anything over the holiday time?
Yeah, a couple. We did a drive up to the Sunshine Coast. We had about 2 or 3 hours of driving, sort of each way.
Oh, nice.
So we've been listening to one that's been popping up frequently for us is How Other Dad's Dad, Hamish Blake.
Yes, nice.
As we're on the parenting journey at the moment, so it's been fantastic. Another one just is a constant for me is Business and Investing. Charlie and Grant, fantastic Aussie podcast as well. And then going back a couple of months, we listened to the Riddler series, which is a little bit different.
Yep.
It's a fiction, it's fictional and it's based like you're watching a movie, but it's all audio.
That's so cool.
And so the experience is just amazing. Never heard anything like it.
You have never seen anything like it because you can't see it.
Highly recommend. Yeah, I think it was like an 8-part series and you just gripped and engrossed the whole way through.
I have heard really good things about that. And that whole crime category on podcast is massive. Everyone loves to hear it, especially those where they spend a whole season unpacking a murders thing. It's crazy, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was. So.
Yeah, you could have only listened to one Joe Rogan episode across those whole 6 hours of driving.
It's very true.
Well, yeah, we're here. It's 2024. We're going to be talking about podcasting in 2024. But first, I'd love to sort of recap what happened last year, mainly towards the end of last year. You launched your podcast in October with your wife, Kaylee, Good Grief podcast. And I launched Beyond the Mic. That was in November. And so, your podcast was 3 months towards the end of the year, and then mine only went for like a month and a half.
I think it's a good just reflection to think that it's never a bad time to launch. You know, even in the busyness of the end of a year, getting your podcast out into the market, perfect.
Yeah, well, it could have been such an easy thing to be like, oh, we'll wait till January, or it makes sense to start the year. But just get started.
Yeah.
Because now you're, up to episode 15?
17 is going to drop to Tuesday.
Yeah,
so 17.
17 on Tuesday.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, otherwise you would have been starting one this week.
Totally.
So to think you've already done 17 episodes, plus another 52 this year.
That's a little bit more daunting to think about.
Weekly episodes. It seems good at first, and then you have to start recording.
It's a big task.
Yeah.
But we can talk about sort of goals, but that'll be one of them, consistency.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a bad time to start.
Never a bad time to start a podcast, for sure.
And what I loved, which I did not know when I started, is that you get, if people have got Spotify as a general account, you get a Spotify Wrapped for the end of the year, and you'll hear what you've been listening to and your top artists and most frequently played and things. You get that as well as a podcaster for all of your stats.
Yeah.
And we love the data.
Absolutely. And I would say the Spotify for Podcasts Wrapped is better than the actual Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah.
The animations are cooler. Because you have to do it on a desktop.
It shows you where people are listening in from around the world, most listened episodes, where they rank. It's phenomenal.
It was cool because I did it for all my clients. I went onto their accounts and we looked through all of them. And it was cool to see some of my clients hitting the charts in 2023 because you don't necessarily get a notification.
You don't know about that.
You don't know that. And so I had a lot of happy clients at the end of the year.
It's a cool way to celebrate.
Yeah, and it was just cool to be able to send that. And I think it's great to be able to, it's always good to celebrate the wins.
Totally.
Even if you think, I only started in October, I don't really have much to celebrate. It was still really cool for you. It's like an endorphin hit, a bit of drug hit.
And I text you, I was like, I can't wait for 2024.
Exactly.
Spotify Wrapped, and all of the data that comes in from a whole year versus 3 months. So.
Yeah, for sure. And so, it's 2024. We're both excited to see what it looks like to, have a solid run of 12 months. For you, it's going to be 52 episodes. Hate to say that number again to you.
Yeah, well, that'll put us 52, 59, 69 episodes.
69 episodes. And if we do a leap year bonus episode, that's 70 episodes. You want to end the year on an even amount of numbers.
Yeah, we'll have to throw in a bonus somewhere along the way.
Bonus episode. But that's exciting. What would you say, obviously apart from, you said consistency is one of your goals for 2024. What are you actually most excited for in terms of your own podcast or podcasting in general heading into this new year?
Yeah, I'm excited there's a few things for us to continue developing our skills and sharpening, our skills as podcasters.
Yeah.
Yesterday we filmed a phenomenal episode. It was the third episode we've done with a guest. It ran for 1 hour 45. We're going to split that into 2. And I just think that dynamic of interviewing and hosting, I think I'm excited to see that just grow.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more and more guests come on the show this year. So out of 17, we've had 3 guests.
Yeah.
We want to start to bring that 50-50
nice.
throughout the year. Excited for that, just that level of consistency. We've shown it so far in 17 episodes, even through Christmas and New Year.
Yeah.
So pumped to continue that. To see audience, reach, feedback come in, people get supported. Yeah, there's heaps of stuff I'm excited to see.
That sounds awesome. Sounds like it's going to be a great year for you guys in podcast.
And probably to reach more countries as well. Like, seeing the big, 5 Western countries, but seeing it reach like smaller parts of the globe as well.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. There's lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that makes me excited for you just hearing all those things. I think there's, heading into 2024, into land of podcasting, there's so many things to be excited for. And I think you nailed a lot of them on the head. And I really liked what you said, even about you personally growing in the way that you host your podcast, especially with guest interviews. It's not necessarily easy.
Totally.
It's obviously easy for you and your wife to just turn on the camera and talk because you guys are used to talking to each other. But to add another person into the mix and work out when to talk, when not to talk. And the only way you're going to get there is by continuing to do it more and more.
Yeah, and even that's interesting as well, because yes, we're married. Yes, we talk. Believe it or not.
What?
But it's different.
Send me obvious on this podcast.
It's different when you flick the lights on and the camera's rolling and you've got a topic. And it's same with us,
Yeah.
Best mates, we talk.
Yeah.
But sitting down here, you've still got to play the game,
Oh, absolutely.
It's attack, it's defense.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like listening to what you're saying while also trying to be like, okay, when Ryan stops talking, what am I going to say? It takes time and it takes practice. But it's definitely possible to get there. And if you're someone that's maybe a bit nervous on how to do that, I would practice and just keep recording and even doing mock interviews is a great one. I have a client that sometimes if there's like a bigger podcast coming up, sometimes they may actually just do a bit of practice and actually get the phone out and record it themselves. Just them talking and then watch themselves back. Yeah. You don't want it to be too polished because it sometimes can defeat the whole purpose of a podcast where it's raw, it's authentic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there could be some mistakes. Even where we're recording right now, there was leaf blowers happening beforehand.
Yeah, who knows what might happen, man, with the storms that have been hitting the Gold Coast.
Could be a tornado that comes through today while recording. Oh, that's awesome. Anyway, so excited about those things for 2024. Heading into...
Can I ask you what you're excited for in 2024?
Of course you can. I would say, even with this podcast as well, having a clear, solid run. We're doing fortnightly episodes. I would love to add, there'll be some extras in there. Along the way, there's a few cool trips coming up this year. Personally,
what have you got booked in?
So
are we allowed to spill the beans?
We're allowed to spill the beans. So heading to Singapore for a week in May. I'll be doing some podcast recording up there with another client. Also hoping to meet some people there and hopefully get some people recorded for my own
spontaneous episodes.
Spontaneous ones.
Love that.
It's really cool. It's like with the gear that we have now, there's like you can do a full big studio setup if you wanted to, but you can also just do on the run.
What are you going to be traveling with? Because obviously we've got a couple of lights, we've got 2 cameras.
Yeah, you got the big Rodecaster.
Yeah.
It'll be these 2 handheld mics that we have at the moment.
Yeah.
With the cables, I will not be taking the big Rodecaster. I'll be putting it into like a Zoom recorder, like H6, and then probably not being able to take any lights because of baggage. So just hoping to find good locations that have. If not, I may take like a pocket, one of those like pocket sort of lights, but just trying to go more natural lights. And I'll just be using one camera. And then on a tripod, so I'll be using my Canon R6.
Probably pop the iPhone up
too. Yeah, and then I was going to bring like a little like Gorilla Pod for the iPhone to have that as a second camera, even just as a Reels camera or behind the scenes sort of thing. But I've already done some research into like spaces you can film in Singapore. And I've like gone on Street View and I found this because I have a client that wants to have the Marina Bay Sands in the background. So I actually found a co-working space.
Has that advantage.
Yeah, that has that. And so you can do like a virtual tour of the office. And I found the exact like lounge setting that's going to be perfect. So I'm in contact with them at the moment around that. So it's really cool. And then heading off to London to the podcast show. So it's a big podcast conference in London. Really excited just for the networking, to meet people.
You must be serious about this podcasting thing if you're going to London for the podcast show.
I'm so excited. I'm definitely serious about it. I think podcasting, I just don't want anyone to get, if I can say one thing, just don't get left behind in 2024.
I agree.
When it comes to podcasting.
We've mentioned it in previous episodes that 2018 should have continued the podcast that I started back then.
Yeah,
you started one.
Yeah, imagine like 5 years going strong. You go to like a couple hundred episodes. It's the dream.
Don't get left behind.
Don't get left behind.
Jump on the train. Yep. It hasn't left the station yet.
The best time to start a podcast was yesterday, but it's all right. You can do it today instead.
Yeah.
Excited to meet new people, collaborate a lot more with people around the world. I think the great thing about podcasting and being able to film podcasts is it doesn't always have to be the red carpet treatment in a studio. Yes, we have that for my clients. We do have a studio that you can record in Brisbane. It's great. It's all like soundproof, got a great TV. You can put your graphics up. That's all taken care of. But like we are here, we're in a private location. Not going to know the name of it.
This is the common room in the sort of gated community that we live in right now.
Yeah,
just to give you an idea.
Yeah, and so we just put it in a Facebook group. Hey, we're recording in this time.
We've got a live audience.
Yeah, got a live
audience.
one. But for example, here, we've got like a pop-up sort of system. And so being able to work with more people, showing them how to do that, even working with people remotely, they record the podcast themselves and then they send it to us and my team.
And polishing.
Yeah. Fully looks after the polishing, the promotion, everything taken care of.
I want to add that to my list now, an international podcast this year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, do you want to come to London with me?
Let's do it.
You'll be a dad for a month at the time. I don't think Kaylee's going to be happy if
London's
I take
not the first place I want to take my baby, but
that's fair. Hey,
we are planning Malaysia, so
MotoGP.
There might be a podcast in Malaysia.
Oh, sure. I'll bring the setup, bro.
Let's do it.
MotoGP. Yeah, so that's what I'm pretty excited for. Yeah. Collaborating, working with new people. I think starting to even push the boundaries with new creative podcasts, way to just go beyond, like, back in the day it was just audio. And now there's a lot more emphasis on video. But now how do we get more interactive? How do we actually engage with our audience more? We've talked about the importance of engaging with your audience. Podcasting isn't just a monologue. It's a dialogue. It's two-way conversation between you and your audience. And so I think, putting a more emphasis on interactive podcasts. I know a lot of people do like live Q&As. When we did the Beyond the Mic launch event, we had people send in questions and they were there in the room and I answered their questions. And it was a sick episode.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And it was good because we are answering the questions that people have. It's not just us coming up with our own content, thinking that it's like, hoping something sticks to a wall.
Yeah, it's bringing the audience, bringing the listeners into the conversation.
Yeah, and fully breaking that fourth wall, which I'm excited to see more of that, more interactive podcasts, more user-generated content. That's probably more episodes for a later time, talking about user-generated content. But I think it's just, and just working with more cool people this year, people who are great at what they do, and then just taking that to the next level.
So good.
I think is, really good.
That was one of our mantras last year.
Yeah.
It's like, do cool stuff with cool people.
Yeah, CSCP, I remember that.
And let's continue that on 2024.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
What are your thoughts on, that idea around like bringing people into the conversation, but then just getting quality time with them that you can't get any other way on social media?
Yeah, for sure. I would like podcasting is a great tool because you are spending time with people at certain times that you never would have been able to do before, in locations that you never would have been able to do before.
Super underrated.
Example, in the car, driving to work or driving to think. Like, I listen to a podcast when driving from Brisbane to the Gold Coast every week, and I genuinely feel like I'm in the room. And it's my like habit every week. I'll listen to this podcast, and I feel like I'm in it.
You get to know them, as well. Below us is our gym here, and so we work out downstairs. And often people come in, they've got headphones on. I ask them what they're listening to, and it'll be a podcast or music. Yeah, and they're the two things. And so you get to know the podcast host, and you feel like if you got into a room with them, like you'd be mates.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. I thought I was going to run into this host of this like podcast that I listen to. I was like, I'd actually be able to have a full conversation with them because I've consumed so much of their content. I've listened to so much of their voice, their mannerisms, those different things. I feel like I know them. Yeah. And so I think that's a great thing heading into 2024 when it comes to content and podcasting. And people are like, why podcasting in 2024? You're creating a relationship and you're building trust with prospects or clients. Even if you'd never work with them in the future, you're still building this relationship with someone
100%
in a time and a location that you never would have thought possible beforehand.
Yep.
And so I think that's awesome. Like in the car, driving to work, people in their office, the gym, people even just sitting down on their lounge listening to it.
And if you're still on the fence wondering, should I start one? Yeah. Have I got what it takes? Like, what will it do for me? I shared this with you earlier, what my mentor Myron says about the amount of hours that we have in a day. He'll often ask, how many hours have you got in a day? The answer that comes back is 24. Yeah, same with me. Yeah. He says, well, I've got more than 24 hours in a day because just yesterday on our YouTube channel alone, 7,337 hours were consumed just yesterday. Yeah. He's like, that's more than 24 hours in a day. Yeah. He's like, why wouldn't you start something now that people can consume and get to know you and your business and what you do? Yeah. And you can leverage and increase the amount of time that you have every single day.
Absolutely. And I think they talk about touch points in marketing. You got to have a certain amount, like 7 touch points before someone's willing to do something. So the more content and longer form content you're putting out there, the quicker it is and the easier it is for someone to actually have those touch points and get to know you and build that relationship and trust. And even if you compare that to short form content, we've talked about short form content in previous episodes when it comes to promoting a podcast. And yes, when you look at the whole podcast ecosystem, content ecosystem for your business, your brand, your show, short form content is so pivotal. It's often an on-ramp into leading people into longer form content because you need to hook people on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
And it goes both ways. Yeah. Start with long form, make your short form out of that. The short form will send people back to the long form.
Yeah, and it's this nice cycle. I like to call it the content ecosystem, really referring to what Apple does with their products, everything intertwined. Yes. It's more than just one product. They all link together. And it's the same with content. But when you're looking at short form, it's got that hook. It really sparks something. But you're not necessarily building that genuine or like long-term engagement, that long-term relationship with your audience like you would with longer form content like podcasting itself. And so I think moving into 2024, if people truly understand the value that podcasting has and how it makes short form easier, like you said earlier.
And if you imagine this for a second, someone in your audience opens Spotify or Apple or whatever it is that they listen to for the day, and they see that your podcast has a new episode and something in themselves just lights up and jumps just a little. Yeah. If you could have that feeling multiplied by 50 or 500 or 5,000. Imagine that. People are opening their phone and just seeing there's a blue dot saying,
I love that blue dot.
saying new episode, and they go, oh, I was hoping to listen to something good today.
Yeah.
And my favorite podcast is ready for me.
It'd be the best feeling.
That is the feeling that you want your audience to have. And your business will thrive because of it.
Absolutely. I think, to have people wanting more from you, I think is and to be able to get to that stage. And it's not as hard as people think it actually is.
Totally.
It's all about consistency, like we've talked about before. Have a regular cadence for doing those things and leave people wanting more.
I'll say it's not as hard if they have someone like yourself and your team working on their podcast. I'm happy to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Because we wouldn't be where we are today without you. So
you can send me the invoice later for that, for that ad. Thank you for the short ad break.
This short ad break was brought to you by Ryan Bowles and StoryRocket.
Too good, man. Well, do you have any final thoughts, any closing thoughts heading into podcasting in 2024 today?
I'm just excited. I'm excited to hear more podcasts and fall in love with more shows this year as well. I love learning. You know, I am the product and I am the audience at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, I produce, but I also consume. And so I think that's a cool space to be in.
Absolutely.
And so if you're listening to this, you're on the consumption side, which means you'd make a great product as well with your business. So get started.
Get started today.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Beyond the Mic. If you're someone who's interested, maybe you have questions around podcasting, why don't you reach out to us? I would love to have a chat with you and your team around what podcasting can look like in 2024, whether you're looking to launch one or looking to grow one. Well, that's all for today. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on the next episode of Beyond the Mic.